Alrighty, everybody, welcome in. My name is Joe, and today we're going to play some chess. So I've been playing this Réti system for a little while now. I kind of like it. It's a way to mix things up. Keeps you flexible. Makes things a little difficult for your opponent at times. Now there are challenges when your opponent pushes a ton of pawns right in the center of the board, because you are giving up a little bit of control over the center of the board. I'm assuming my opponent's either going to fianchetto or they're going to push. I doubt they're going to push this early in the game, so I'm expecting some kind of fianchetto. And that's okay. This d4 move is not typical of the position. Typically you're just pushing d3, but this is defended. And now with my knight around, if my opponent were to somehow trade off, I've got a second guy here for the kill. Let's develop my queen to c2 maybe. Support my bishop coming around. Something like that, I'm thinking. There is this other option, right? It's not a great option, but it is this. It only works if the opponent moves their b pawn out of the way, because if your knight is sitting here, then opponent just simply pushes b3, or b6, excuse me, which is good for them because then they can fianchetto the light square bishop. Get some pawns and a nice solid formation. If my opponent were to go aggressive and get this b pawn pushed, then maybe I'll look at that, but obviously now my opponent's taking that away. Let's go ahead and just castle. No reason not to at this point. I like to delay castling just in case my opponent has ideas of pushing and opening up this outside file. In this case, it looked like my opponent was setting up to castle as well. We have a really strong pawn position now, but look at our dark square bishop. Our dark square bishop never got out, never got developed, and now is kind of sitting back here sad. So we're going to have to change our pawn structure in order to get our dark square bishop out. We are weakening our c-pawn, so that is something to keep in mind. And then we just look at what our opponent's looking at doing, you know. So we don't need to take. There's no reason we need to take that right now. I'm kind of debating on throwing my dark square bishop all the way out here on the edge. Notice it's not defended, so I do have to keep that in mind. This knight still defends here, so even if a bunch of trades happen, I'm not able to grab, but it's a nice diagonal to be on. Okay, so here's where things get complicated. Do I capture? I don't need to capture, but do I? I don't know. Capture. My opponent could capture back with the knight. Could capture back with the pawn. And that loses a central pawn, so I'm not going to capture. I'm going to leave this sit here. I'm going to let this pawn sit here and force my opponent to come up with a move. So let's just continue our development. Still not in love with my dark square bishop. It's one of the challenges of this kind of opening is your dark square bishop is stuck behind all these pawns. Another theme in these kind of fianchetto structures, fianchetto is when you put your bishop basically up one rank. Go ahead and clear the space, right? Get the space cleared out so that way if your bishop has to move, it can, and your opponent's bishop, if it ever ends up here, is not threatening. All right, so my opponent is now just developing, so we're kind of at this nice little stalemate where nobody's, making any sudden moves. I kind of like that my opponent has rearranged his rook, because now I'm not so worried about this bishop anymore. So if we look at this square here, e4, there's always a theme of fighting for e4. My opponent has 1, 2, 3 pieces fighting for e4. I have 1, 2, 3, or actually realistically I have 1, 2, 3, and then if I move this knight I'll have 4. So can we go for it? Well, I think so. I think I'm going to make that jump. Notice my knight will be a target, but I can move my knight if I absolutely have to. I could move it here. Notice that is defended as well. But we're putting the onus on our opponent to figure out how to, consolidate this position. As white, I'm the one that should be the attacking player, right? I'm the one that should be taking the initiative. But I've found that for our rating level where we're playing, we're looking for opponents to make mistakes. And this might be one right here. Look at this. 1, 2. My opponent does have 2 defenders on it. I've got 2 attackers. But this move here gets us another attacker. So it was an even pawn trade. This knight is looking for something, but everything's defended, so I'm okay. But this is what I'm looking at next. My rooks are connected, so I'm okay here. The question is, do I take with the knight? My opponent has 1, 2, 3 defenders. Ah, that's what his move with the knight was. I have 1, 2, 3 attackers. This is undefended. No, it is defended, but it's attacked twice. So I could lose a pawn here, but right now my opponent needs to respond to this knight move. If he goes here, I'll gladly trade away my dark square bishop, because my dark square bishop is not doing a lot right now. It hasn't done a lot this whole game. So my opponent's got to figure out where this knight needs to go. And 2 of the squares remove a defender of this pawn. But then again, I don't know if I want to move this particular, because I really don't want to lose this light square bishop just yet. So now we're in this kind of positional type mid-game, right, where we're just trying to look at getting some advantages wherever possible. I'm thinking of bringing my bishop back. Actually, this works just fine. Happy to do that. No complaints whatsoever. This is defended. See, I don't want to grab here because both of us have our bishops defended, and I know my opponent wants to trade off. I could push past. Ooh, I have to be careful because my rook is undefended. Or my opponent has this long range attacker on my rook. So let's go ahead and trade one piece. All right, trade a pawn. Just so that we can get a tempo to get our other rook involved. Right, so if this, we're gonna bring the knight up. Yep, this is defended twice, so we're okay. But I just didn't want my rook along that diagonal, so making that pawn trade basically allows me to do that without giving up a pawn. Now I'm looking, I wish there was some nice discoveries, right? We have this alignment issue. But doesn't look like there's anything there. Excellent. So the thing I was worried about is if my opponent had gone with the bishop first, and then I captured with the knight, his knight recapturing comes with check. But by doing it the order that he did, he gives me some breathing room, which is exactly what I wanted. All right, so now... So there's still two attackers here. I would like to get a rook lift in. Right, so my thought was I'll get a rook lift in to defend this, but then my opponent would trade off a rook, capture, capture, and then capture, capture. It's a very even position right now. I mean, it's very, very even. My opponent does have the two bishops versus a bishop and a knight. There's not really a good defensive resource. So let's go ahead and trade off a pair of rooks. So now we've got our defenders back. Very, very sneaky by my opponent that I completely missed. All right. So now captures, captures. We trade rooks. It was a good move by my opponent that I didn't see at all. Notice my alignment issue. These are tough games. These are tough games now. I'm in the 1600 plus category right now. You notice my rating has fallen down a little bit because these are some tough games now I've been playing. And I don't always have the answer, right? My opponents have been playing well enough that they have great ratings. And so I don't always know the best solution. Just a little iced tea. All my ice melted, so now it's just tea. There's no ice anymore. That's all right. So honestly, I'm thinking my opponent's going to play something like this. Now, could be some issues. Capture, capture, capture. I'm down a, but capture, capture, I'm okay. Capture, capture, I'm okay. If he brings the rook over, I'm okay, because there's no check. This is the power of the fianchettoed bishop. It has that opportunity to play defense. Notice my opponent wasn't really concerned either because he could always drop back with his bishop. This is tough. This is really tough, guys. This is making me think really hard. My opponent's playing extremely well. Would love to have, you know, be able to pick up a pawn here with check, give me a free pawn and then return, but it's just not meant to be right now. I wish there was some neat discoveries I had, right, with my knight, so I could put my opponent on blast, because, you know, I've got two attackers here. There's just nothing, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't really see much of a breakthrough. Getting the rook up would be good. Opponent's gonna put the attack here. Is that too extreme? I just don't have, I don't, that might be too extreme. That just might be just too much. Because I'm assuming my opponent's going to play this here. But that'll give me a chance to rotate my knight around. So we'll see a trade here. I've got a pawn weakness now, maybe a pawn weakness here, maybe a pawn weakness here. So I've got some targets maybe, but we're running into an end game, and it's going to be a very even end game, and those are my weakness. I'm going to go ahead and pre-move this because I'm assuming my opponent's just going to trade. They pretty much have, well, I don't have to, but I can't, no, don't pre-move that. Oh man, my opponent's gonna take, and I'm under attack, and I can't take here. I just lost material. I screwed up. Yep, I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. Well, that's it. I can't believe I missed that. Again, this move basically allows my opponent to grab, but my queen is under attack, and so I have to respond to that threat more than anything, and that was just a mistake. Just leaving my queen sitting there underneath that rook was just too much. Yep, just too much. I probably should have retreated back to that. That would probably have been a better move. Queen to d1. Still maintain my defensive posture, defend my rook, get out from underneath this pin. Yeah, that would have been a better move. All right, so back here, we have two defenders. I can easily just move my queen. That would have been a much better option. Yep, and see, now I can't capture back here. This is gonna come with checkmate. Check, king moves down. Check, king hides, and I just have no further attack. Now, this is checkmate, because down, and then if I'm hiding here, then over. That'll have 2 attackers on that piece. Cut off my opponent's influence, pick up with the king. If the queen comes up, then I've got it, but this is at least defended twice. I might be able to wiggle out of this. I doubt it, though. This is just going to be too little time to wiggle out of it. Giving my opponent that free bishop is just too much. I don't even have a fun check to throw in. So like I said, at least this is defended, this is defended, this is defended. My queen is way overloaded right now. The queen is trying to do too many things. I mean, if the rook comes down here, what do I do? I guess I could throw in a check there. Then the king comes up the board, threatening my rook. Queen to here? No, because then trades trip maybe? I don't know. Difficult, difficult, difficult. So that was one major mistake we had. There's going to be some, as we go back and we evaluate, there's probably going to be more small ones. But we played well, right? Even if we lose the game, we played well. Right up until the point that we dropped a bishop. But maybe we can get somewhere on the clock, I don't know. If this pawn wasn't here, we'd have something with this. Yeah, okay. Let's start there. We get our piece back. Well, I'll be darned. And we're gonna lose a piece. And then we turn around and we lose a piece in the process. Yay. Oh, with check. Oh, beautiful move, my friend. Beautiful move. Okay. So now it's a time scramble. My opponent has oh, I can't get up there at all. Oh, and I just backwards that pawn. That was a mistake. I just gave my opponent a free... Screwed up my pawns. Didn't mean to do that. Give him this one. Phooey. Yeah, the king can come here, but the king can't get back here that easy. There is really nothing to do here. I've got to get to this to defend. There's nothing. He just pushes to victory. I got nothing. We'll give him the win. All right, that was a good game. Extremely good game to my opponent. Let's see if there was anything I could do here at the very end. I felt like there could be something back here. So right here, this was a mistake. This was supposed to be, I need this defended. This would have been a better move. Granted, it allows my opponent to come up this way. But let's see, because this is the part that I don't, yeah. Yep. There's just really nothing to do here. The move that I made went from a -5, which is winning for black, to -7, which was -8. It's just getting worse and worse, worse and worse. Look at that. As the engine finds more and more lines, yeah, so you could see basically by giving up this pawn, it's equivalent to giving up a full rook. And that was just a boneheaded move. All right, so we got the trades here. I'm just really surprised that that's the difference. Yep, look at that. The difference is if I trade here, the queen can't get in a position to grab this. And then I can grab freely. Wow. Wow. My initial thought was something like this, but it doesn't matter. There's 2 attackers and only 1 defender, so that doesn't work. We were back in it for a second. So this way the bishop's trapped, right? The bishop can't go anywhere. The queen can't save him, so the bishop's trapped. Yeah, I should have left it like this. I didn't even recognize that my opponent's gonna come here with check. Just a brilliant sequence by my opponent there at the end. All right, let's go back to the beginning here. Wow, the engine hates that line. Wow. Yeah, and then there's really no saving this. Yep. Oops, I missed. Yep. So from here, I was thinking some. Oops, back up. Before this rook lift. No, the rook lift is what I was thinking. But then you lose the knight no matter what. Man, this is not easy at all, is it? I don't even have any threat here because that's. So yeah, my opponent put up a real heck of a fight. I really had nothing, basically from here onwards. I just really had no way to pull an advantage. Yeah, see, I was looking at this and this, but then there are two attackers here, so I'd have to retreat. Yeah, I'd have to retreat almost immediately. Otherwise, this, and that's checkmate. Right, let's say I make some dumb move, then yeah, that's checkmate. So I'd have to retreat. Allow the queen trade. Yeah, I guess. But realistically, man, I just did not feel good about this whole ending. Right to here, I felt fine. I felt okay. And then this is where things got really ugly. I mean, I am super defensive. I'm turtling up, and I have nowhere to go. Yeah, this is a better move. Just have multiple attackers on this guy. Basically force this. Or checkmate. Didn't see that at all, because I figured my opponent had plenty of opportunities, but they can't. So sticking the rook here would have been a huge bonus. Basically two attackers. Defend or defend. That's a good move. Yeah, so missing that. Could have gone for the same thing, and or if my opponent had pushed here, at least I can get this. No, that's not. No, that doesn't help at all, because now I don't have support for that. Okay, no, I don't know what to do. Yeah, realistically, I don't know what to do in this position. I'm just turtled up, and there's really not a whole lot of options. That rook there would have been nice, but that's really it. Because even the rook here is two attackers, and even if my opponent did this thing, which is different than this maneuver, because then you're giving up a queen in the process. So, boy. All right, let's go back and look at the opening. All right, so the opening was good. You know, the ready system, get ourselves in a position, real happy with all this. Ready to castle. Get my pieces developed. My dark square bishop was real ugly here. Yeah, I was looking at something like this. Push, and then maybe even push here, and then get the bishop out this way so it's defended by the rook. But it just doesn't seem very fitting yet. Yeah, so it was a fine position. Black has a slight edge, and yeah, I'm really surprised I didn't go for it. Yeah, that's ugly for white too. I mean, there's really no good ways for any of this, is there? Yeah, we got back to this nice evenish position. And I was happy with this. I mean, I was 100% happy at this point in time. I felt really happy about how this went about. But then from here, it just absolutely transitioned into a game that I was not comfortable with. So I just got uncomfortable right around here. I don't know why. You know, maybe if I had gone with the bishop instead, maybe that would have been better for me. I just like to keep that bishop on board as long as possible, but this basically allowed my opponent to get all that pressure on that knight. So maybe that was the decision right here. It was the decision to try to hold on to this bishop, which by all accounts I should have. Maybe there's something there. I don't know. All right, guys. Well, this was fun. I'm happy with the opening. I need to figure this out. I need to figure out how to finish developing these pawns, figure out what to do with this dark square bishop, figure out when it's better to move this knight. You know, when it's better to get this knight moved early and out of the way to open up this light square bishop, because that became such a target throughout the whole game that it just wasn't fun. My opponent played a phenomenal game. 100% props to Hannibal 83. They played great. So, yeah. Probably should have just gone with the standard and then something like this along down the road. Oh well. Alright guys, thanks for sticking around. This was a lot of fun. We lost the game, but no big deal. We'll play another one later on today sometime. Actually, no, not today. It's already past lunch and I haven't eaten anything yet, so I'm gonna go eat some food. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.